your host, Taylor Hart, and today I'm sitting down with Anna Willey. Is that right? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, yep, you got
Awesome.
it, yep.
It's always kind of one of those, I was like, is it like Wiley Coyote or is it like, something different? But it's always fun, I like it. So, yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for joining me. You are the
Thanks for having
CEO
me.
of Cam Dispensary. That
Yes,
is
I am.
yes, out in Sacramento, California, cannabis cultivator and delivery service, something that up here in Washington we do not have. So this is exciting for me to talk to you about this. How are you today? How's it? I know you're busy. You've been on the go. How's it been for you?
So, Cam came to, we started Cam. I started Cam in Colorado. So that's when I'd been a hobby cultivator, software developer by design, but I grew in homes just like everybody else did, legalization. And in 2009, I'm like, hey, look, I love growing cannabis. I had some rudimentary licensing in place. And I went ahead and 5,000 square foot warehouse and a 2,000 square foot retail space. Some things, I mean, now that I look back on that time, and hundreds of lights, I realized how much I didn't know. If you have some passion for the plant, it kind of follows you, throughout your life cycle.
Yeah.
So I started off then. What I did immediately learn how to build out these warehouses. So I went out and got my general contractors. So I actually go out and find the buildings, do the designs, go through the architect, and then build these buildings and then operate in them. So that's kind of what we did in Colorado and lights, and then went all the way up to 1,100 lights in Colorado to come to California in 2018. It's been a really positive experience here in Cali.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't know that you had your general contractor too. That's super tight to include that in there. And I can only imagine how much that helps when you're building out these facilities and just having the know-how of how it's going to function and work, that's pretty awesome to be able to put that together in that way. So what initially led you to be in cannabis in Colorado instead of going into something else?
But I love weed. I've been smoking weed since I was like 12 or 13 years old. And then my degree is in some math. So I was, did my master's in, and, started working a job, right, as a software developer. And I still always went back to cannabis, hobby growing, but that was like my passion project, right?
Yeah, that natural calling.
From work to natural calling, and it was also a good way to kind of source of income that didn't rely on somebody else. So I think that it's kind of the, so that way you can kind of go into work and not, constantly worry about, well, if I thought that was like just a really good way to combine business and some and a little bit of risk, right? So
yeah, totally. So, yeah. So as a consumer though, like what is like, are you a smoker? Are you a dabber? Edibles? Like
I
what's
smoke. Yeah.
Smoke for sure.
Smoke for sure. Absolutely. I think the last couple of years I've been more trying concentrates, but for me, I roll joints and I smoke out of still to this day. That's like my choice.
Amazing.
I'm not gonna. I do. I mean, that just comes from like people that you weed with, right? It's whoever you start smoking weed with. If they're blunt rollers and you smoke nicotine high, and then when you start rolling your own, then you're rolling joints. So yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite strain then?
So I love 92 OG Tahoe. When I came to California, that you couldn't really grow green weed and the market color, which is odd because it's obviously plants are green. And people don't realize that it's really, to get things purple, you turning down the temperatures, but it's actually pulling the humidity out of a room that turns things purple if they're not. Um, but for me, it's, favorite strain, I would say it's a 92 OG, and but I do love all the new gelato crosses and the jealousy crosses, because I'm new to it. So I've,
Right.
growing in Colorado for the last couple of years, I haven't been around for all the, cookie strains that came to Colorado was the ones that were kind of left over from Cal. That's been like a learning experience for me of just how much breeders are in California, and getting to work with amazing.
Yeah. So was moving to California more of you needed to change your scenery, or did you have like being in the cannabis industry, were you more focused on like their market and being like, I need to get into that market because that seems more exciting than Colorado?
I loved Colorado, but I could also kind of see on the wall there. There's only 4 million. I mean, 4 million, and I watched a lot of these companies go into multiple states, right?
Yeah.
Well, you could go to a ton of states, or you could just go to California. It's the same number of people, so you could, you have this huge pot of 41 million people. I wanted to compete, right? I think that was the other thing, because you kind of saw all these amazing California, and I was like, well, if I really want to compete, I have to go there. And my first license that I got was in Oakland, of all places. Kind of, I am dead set on getting a warehouse in Oakland, because the Oakland industrial cannabis market at the time was like, everything was $3 a square foot plus. All of wanted like 25% of your business. It was insane. It was craziness. So I then decided to just kind of go over to Sacramento, and I'm like, oh, not Sac, but not as exciting as like San Francisco at the time. But guess what? They were amazing, and they had good bones, and there was tons of people in Sac that love culture in Sacramento. That's just, the nickname Sacramento.
That's really interesting that you were like gung ho on Oakland, but now Sacramento has been where you like bloomed and you were able to like grow and develop.
Great.
That's so interesting.
Absolutely. We're in a ton of stores in SF and Oakland. So we a ton of stores that like carry cam. So I still get to come out here, and I still get to see customers, and so I still get that experience without what's been going on in Oakland in the last 2 years.
That's cool way to go about it. Out here in Washington, we're not able to be like vertically integrated or anything, so we can't grow and sell our own product or anything. It has to be completely separate. So it's cool when you're able to grow, sell your product, but then have other places also continue to sell your product. I think that's one of the cool things about the market out there, and where Washington really just needs to catch up on a lot of these things.
And I think that, like, really though, I will say Colorado had the best, because they didn't quite have the distributor license. It was just you grew your own product, sold it to the stores. There wasn't like this other, luckily we do all our own amazing like learning experience for Cam on how to distribute your own product without distributor, because that way you really have control over. I always say the same. There's a ton of great cannabis out there, but once it gets old, really like it's from the time that you put it into a jar, into a bag. There's only so much curing that can really happen there. before it gets old. I feel that that grow and then sell allows you to really get customer feedback on what you're, more importantly, what you can improve on.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Because like right now, the store that I'm at, our buyers are outside of our store, and we have to try and communicate to them like what our customers are asking for, what they're looking at, like what they're settling for as well when we don't have what they need or something. Like, all of these things are something that we have to try and communicate to them, and it's so hard to do.
With a central buyer and all these absolutely. And there's not someone that's like, you can have brands that have a great product for maybe 6-7 months straight, and then maybe they have some issues, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's no kind of where like it used to be good, now it's dropped off, and there has to be like, hey, so that communication. Because believe me, we try really hard. We're all about consistency, 100%, which is like if it's not up to our standards, don't put it in the jar. Figure out,
right.
Make it into a pen, like whatever.
Totally.
Do something. Pick something else other than. You can't get away from any flaws. If there's something wrong with that product, it's going to be right everybody to check out. So I always tell people, like, just be really conscientious putting it in the jar.
100%. So talking about growing and like producing high quality, always really good stuff. You've been doing it for so long. I have to assume you've been through all of the different types of mediums for growing, any like trendy things.
And let me tell you, I love to try out, like, whether grow down, let's try that. Let's try it out. It could be the latest new thing. We have R&D try out different mediums, but I've grown in cocoa, I've grown in rock on top of cocoa, I've grown in hydrogen. I grew in hydrogen forever. It was like, it was really hard to get on and off rock. Like, I loved hydrogen. When I came out to California, that's when we immediately found out the very hydrogen has a ton of heavy metals. You just didn't know. You would, and so, runoff. So it just, and as well as cocoa, a lot of different types of cocoa have heavy metals. So doing rock wool, and so now we're in 4-inch cubes on slabs.
Cool. And would you say that that's by far now been your favorite way to grow?
I would say that whatever you have in a warehouse. So when you cool down the temps, you're going to there's going to be when you have different types of medium, there's pros and cons to every single type of medium. But yes, I would say the most consistent, and because we are on a harvest schedule, meaning a room is coming down every 9 or it's a 60-day cycle, but every 9, you just have to have something that's going to be a consistent medium. And Rockwell's done a great job of that for us.
That's good. So I know a lot of people talk about like playing music for their plants, or like, just giving off these different vibrations and energies around it to produce better crop. Do you believe in that? And do you implement anything like that?
So I'll tell you what I believe in. I believe in really taking your staff well. I think that's the best vibration you can have, because jobs are, and I work right next to my guy, but like a lot of these jobs are only repetitive, but what happens is if someone doesn't cut the slabs properly or do just, it's the most smallest things that can cause issues of people not paying attention to a cohesive group, and really make sure that you're like, everybody in your group feels that they're all working towards putting the best product we can put out there. And I think, and just making sure that your folks are getting regular raises, that people are getting bonuses, doing a good job, that they're being told that they're doing a good job. I think a lot of times someone gets to hear when they're doing a bad job, and sometimes that just kind of resonates. It can't always be like everyone's doing a great job, but I'm sure there are especially teams from your manager and from you're doing a good job, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, it is so important to have that positive reinforcement and the negative. Sometimes you need that criticism, but that makes it better, right?
Absolutely, it makes it better. But what we try to do is not to pinpoint, it can tell you can be the best cultivator on the face of the planet. You can have everything. If your infrastructure, if you don't have enough money to replace the HVAC and to revamp your grow and to take care of issues, all those things take tons of capital. And same thing, right? Just that stuff has to go on, or you're just not going to get it. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those things are highly, highly important, pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, to having a good operating farm that has healthy plants, healthy people, just healthy everything, I'm very much so into that, into the holistic benefits,
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of music, yes, we have music that do I feel that if my 30-ton or my 212.5, my irrigation schedule is not working properly, I don't think music is going to do anything to help my plant.
Very true, very true. It just enhances it in the long run, But yeah, you got to make sure everything's operating, right? And
everything has to be operating. Yeah.
Yes. And so I understand that you have been expanding to a 2,000 light facility. How has that process been?
Every time someone says it, I'm like, I am, right? It takes a village. So to make sure that the quality that we're putting out of 600 lights currently that we have in our 2,000 light facility, I would say we're about 45 to 60 days out. That's pretty much completed. We're waiting for our electrical provider, supply chain issues on transformers. So we're just kind of waiting for them to turn on the light. I mean, maybe a cog in the wheel, but I think I've used this time to say, okay, processes that we have in place today in 600 lights going to be able to scale. So can you take the now selling, somewhere about 550 pounds of packaged product, now 800 pounds of packaged product, right? Of course, we're going to have to do some wholesaling. We're going to have to do, not just going to all go into the brand right away. You got to build into that. But all those processes and people that are going to be able to scale, or are we, what I don't want is that people are like, let's just get to it and see how it goes.
Right.
So I'm more of a planner, and I have an amazing team, and I can't. I mean, and a ton of our COO, our head of distribution, Sarah, Alex, all these amazing things that are making it work, and just kind of it's given us a little bit of time to say improve our processes to make our transition smoother. But the coolest thing for that, all the folks that kind of made this happen for me in the last 3 years as a team, just more opportunity, right? More opportunity to move up, and that's going to be super cool for us.
That's so important too, because I feel like empowering your employees to be able to help make those decisions or help put those processes in place is just another way that you're going to have, that better crop at the end of the day, because the people actually care about it.
Yeah.
So that's
amazing. But I think that the big thing that growing great products, and as we see with product while it's growing, it's so beautiful. I think it's 50% of the gig. So I think how you're drying, how you're curing, how you're handling the product down is pretty much as important as what you're doing when you're growing the product.
100%. Yeah. I'm such a stickler for those types of things because I've been consuming for way over a decade. And so I know the little intricacies when things aren't, flushed properly, maybe cured a little bit too long, maybe not cured enough,
maybe it doesn't have a nose to it. Maybe, like the dry room was, yes, absolutely. But
yeah,
also just even for the folks that don't know the differences the product will experience that, right? So
yeah, they won't be able to articulate it necessarily, but they'll know something is wrong.
Like this, exactly. And for our aids, we make sure there's 4 buds and under, that there's no crow on every part of the job. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm an excellent trimmer. Every part of the job. So I want someone to go and get, when they go open the jar, they're like, oh, it's beautiful. And so I think that's it. And it smells. So maybe if they're new, and even though they can't articulate why they like certain product more than the amount, and when they actually consume it, just like for folks like you and me that have been doing it forever, and we're connoisseurs,
Right. Yeah, it's so ritualistic for so many people and just part of that daily routine that every aspect of it matters, When I look across the room and I see like my little jar of weed or like my grams of oil, like I want it to call to me, I want it to look nice. I don't want to have to feel like I need to hide it because it seems like a disgusting habit, because in actuality, it's not. It's just plants, So it needs to be championed that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something about it, even with my parents are, I think it was last year my mom stopped telling people I was a pharmacist. Indian people, so they just don't understand. Even then, they can see, because it's just, cannabis is evolved. I mean, if you look at what the weed looked like even 6 years ago compared to how beautiful it is now, they can really just look at it and say, wow, that's a beautiful flower.
Yeah.
So even for people that assume, when they see that, I think the aesthetic quality or the smell, where it just smells, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still love stuff that smells like feet and whatever. There's just so many different terpenes now, and it's so much more refined on the concentrate side. Just deliciousness in a jar.
Yeah, I find myself drooling quite often over the smells and the looks of weed.
Yeah. It's definitely,
it's a delicious thing.
Yeah, nug porn.
Yes. See, you mentioned how you guys always have these constantly rotating rooms of flower, and you're constantly harvesting. That's part of being, keeping fresh product on the shelf.
Yep.
And I love it. Always do that. But hypothetically, let's just put this out there. If you were to take like all 2,000 of those lights and put it in a massive room and have one massive canopy, when you harvested that, how much product do you think that would yield?
So, about 4,700 pounds. A harvest. A harvest with if it would be 4.5 basically. So you're looking at almost 20,000 pounds. It's a lot of weed.
That's a lot of weed. And this is why
It's
you
a lot of
don't do
weed.
that, people.
This
This
is
is
why
why
you don't do
you
it.
have
This is
small
why
rooms.
this is why we do small rooms. And honestly, be said about quality control. Even in 2,000 lights, we'll be harvesting every 2.5 days. But I think that's one amazing rules called product managers, where you're like, and quality control. I think that those are like some of the most in a 2,000 light facility, which usually with distribution, humans that are going to be in that space on a daily basis. They're doing quality control. You have to because it's just so much product. So with quality control, that's it. Because I'm definitely not the first 2,000 lighter, and I definitely
Right, yeah.
And there's I think there's well, I mean, Washington has some operators, and
yeah, there's some big operations out here for sure.
There's some big boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing here. Same thing here. Yeah.
For sure. God, that is just such a massive scale to think about like that. But the smaller rooms makes it so much more manageable. But yeah, part of me wants to see just one big massive.
There's folks that are doing not 2,000 lights. I mean, that's basically what you're looking at houses. Those are huge, like 600, 700
Totally.
light rooms. But there are facilities that have, I wouldn't say perfected in any way, because you're going to get hot spots. You're going to have trouble, all sorts of issues when you have that many plants, and you're, what I call, putting all your ducks in, because if that room doesn't go well,
you're really should I look?
We're really kind of screwed. But I think that there are folks that are 200 or 300 light rooms. Like I said, smaller.
They're pretty
rooms,
massive. Yeah.
Smaller rooms. We have, even us on the 2,000 lighter in a room. So
yeah. Well, wonderful.
That's your max.
Yes. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to bring to the table, or that you want to let the people know about?
We are releasing a pen line, so we're doing live resins, and I think a lot of times folks are like, people are like, oh, disposable, right? It's usually like, not that there's anything wrong with that. To each its own. Don't want to put down the distillate pen. We're trying to like kind of bring a higher level of quality to the pen. Grow a lot of strains that maybe don't test as high, but have amazing great for extracts, and we get to grow those strains too. So it's kind of been us to like have a new product, but it also affects the cultivation, where you get to grow a bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's so exciting. The joys of the outdoor world, right? Yeah. So yeah, if y'all are in Sacramento area, holler at them. I believe it is camdispensary.com. Yes.
Yeah, we have a delivery there, but we're also so we're in all the cookie stores, and all of the stuff, and right. So anywhere in California, we're there.
Yes, go check them out, find them,
Thank you,
support
Taylor,
them.
so much for the.
Thank you as well for hopping on. I know it was super last minute. You're on the road, you're on the go, but it was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Yes, you have a good day. See ya.